Adobe Summit earlier this year, you said the lines have been blurred between your marketing, your sales, your reps, your products, and support. In today's world, your digital experience is your brand. So what do seamless customer experiences look like in this era of AI?
I do think about the world in this way, which is for many of us as we interact with our customers or as, humans, as consumers interacting with brands, we're not seeing the department, right? Our customers don't see the department that we're part of, and they experience different aspects. They experience our brand through an app. They experience our app, our brand through a website. Whatever the experience is, that is the product. And a lot of times that is very digitally driven. And as AI gives us the ability to have a lot more automation, that's an opportunity to make things better and do things faster. It's also a way to trip up and make a lot of mistakes. So we want to avoid that. But I do think that we're into a space now where there's a lot that will be possible coming online over the next couple of years. And we might as well embrace it, because if we don't, someone else will.
All right. So, Phil, you were quoted in a Forbes article in March of 2023 where you said and you're referring to generative AI, is the new way of looking at marketing. So that was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
What's changed since then? And what does it mean to be a marketer in the era of generative AI?
I think this is the best time to be a marketer. If maybe the origin of marketing was kind of the Mad Men era of the 50s and advertising and all that, I think now this is in some ways a resurgence of the value of marketing and actually being observed as being contributors to positive outcomes. What's changed over the last 18 months is that the clients that we work with, the executives that we survey, are saying that marketing is going to play a much more prominent role in this notion of business model reinvention.
So let me ask you where we're at in terms of maturity. I think where, of course, are we moving beyond that proof of concept project stage to harnessing the power of AI? Where would you say we are when you're working with your clients and customers?
Well, I think we're in 0.1.
Okay.
Seriously. I think that very few companies have had the chance yet to train AI on their data and then have that be shown in process to their customers. So what folks are doing now is we're very much in the playground phase.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work happening, certainly with creativity and just with kind of basic core content. And that's fun because, we're sort of like seeing the death of the blank page, because ideation now is very easy, right? And that's really valuable. I no longer have to write a brief, hand it to someone else, and say, please, based on these words, interpret the image that's in my mind.
Right.
Right. I could actually go and ideate myself with tools like Adobe Firefly and get back 10 different ideas in the space, of minutes that it would have taken someone else hours and hours and hours to do.
Right.
Right. And so you have that kind of very basic idea that, hey, like I can just do ideation much more quickly, and I can do variations on ideas much more quickly. So that's pretty cool. However, for the enterprise, for any business of any size, to really take advantage of the AI, you've got to have all of your, privacy and IP protections in place. Most companies are still figuring that out. You have to be able to train the AI on your company data and then allow that to be part of workflows. No one's doing that at any kind of scale yet, right? We're just at the tip of the iceberg of making that kind of thing happen, right? And then ultimately, the AI has to end up in workflow. It can't simply be a tool over here, where I kind of mess around and I bring it back to do my real work.
Such great examples from both organizations about how you're infusing these tools into your teams. Do you feel like that's very common with your customers?
The departmental lines are starting to blur and will blur a lot more, because so much of what we do in marketing today is based on very specific expertise.
Right.
Right. I am a analytics person. I am about customer segmentation. I am a data scientist. I am in creative. I do websites. I do email campaigns.
Right.
And a lot of that has to do with expertise in certain areas, often with certain technology, right? I know how to use this specific technology, and so I spend a lot of time on it. as the technology becomes easier to use, because as the AI starts to create an interface layer, I don't have to be nearly the expert anymore.
Right.
Right. So for us, like an example is we have just released an AI assistant with Adobe Experience Platform. Experience Platform is, at its heart, a data tool, a customer segmentation tool. It's not, it's not easy to use and just for someone who doesn't have any idea what it is. But now with AI Assistant, you can say, hey, I need to create a campaign. I'm going to need some segments. Can you help me do this thing? And because the AI assistant knows how Experience Platform works,
right,
then you, as the user, you don't know how it works. You don't need to know how it works in the same level of fidelity, right? You can say, I know what I'm trying to accomplish from a business standpoint. And so now I don't need to have a different segmentation department. I can ask, Experience Platform to do it for me. I don't need to sort of go out and, create this email campaign template, because Experience Platform knows what that looks like and can create it for me.
right.
And so the more that type of expertise isn't required to do tasks, the more, and I think this builds on Phil's golden age of marketing point. As a marketer, like, the shackles are off.
When you're talking to your clients and customers, who do you see are the biggest partners for the CMO within the C-suite or across the organization in helping them really bring this true one-to-one personalization at scale to life?
What we see is that the marketer and the companies with a marketer and CIO are like best friends.
Yes.
And they have a common vision of what we're trying to do here.
Right.
Really impressive things can happen.
Yeah, I think that lateral CMO-CIO relationship's absolutely critical. And I'd add a third leg to that stool, because 3 creates stability, is the CFO. The marketer being able to convey to the CFO what the value is of what they're going to actually accomplish with that money is critical. But it's not. I think you need to treat the CFO not just as a bank, but actually a partner in that effort as well, and understand really the details that go into the balance sheet, what determines cash flow for your particular enterprise, and how marketing can actually respond to those kinds of very finance-oriented metrics, including return on assets and that sort of thing. But a few stats that also came out of our recently updated Pulse survey. So 58% of CEOs say that they have consensus in the C-suite. It sounds okay, but that means that two out of 5 C-suites, there is no consensus. And I think that CMOs, just by nature of what they do, kind of the empathic nature of marketing, could be a close ally to the CEO to build that consensus. And that's important to, just for marketing in general, and certainly a Gen AI inspired model as well.
Right now, most marketing departments are under incredible budget pressure, and the initial knee-jerk reaction of the finance community from around AI is, oh, good, how much can we save? And it's such a penny-wise, pound-foolish way to think about what's happening right now, because, look, marketing is either going to be an engine for growth, right, for companies that invest in it,
right,
or it's going to be the first step into a long series of steps of losing your customer relevance. But what that means for marketers and CMOs is we have to take the leap to put the ROI case out there that's about growth. Because otherwise, we're going to get stuck with a target. Like, the target is, please go save 15%. Mm-hmm. Like, that's your big idea. And if the CFO, mandate down is go save 15%, then that's a game no one's winning.
Talk about what responsible AI means to your organizations and how you're leading the conversation about responsible AI.
So when we set out to do this, we said we have to be able to do 3 things. We have to be able to be accountable, responsible, and transparent. Accountable meaning we have to take full ownership over the outcomes of the models we build. The responsibility part has a lot to do with the data that you choose to use. So we set out very early to say we are not using any data that we do not have clear intellectual property rights to use. And then the third piece is transparency, right? Can you open up the hood? Can you see into the engine and say, where is this coming from? What's the data provenance? All the issues that you should care about. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have those 3 things, accountability, responsibility, transparency, there's a problem. Years ago, Adobe invested or was a founding member of something called the Content Authenticity Initiative, that now hundreds and hundreds of other technology organizations and PwC has joined. is one of many partners with us. And that's about being able to trace content from its inception.
Yeah.
Who built it? When did they build that content? What changes have occurred to the content? And ultimately that's going to be a paradigm shift, I think. And then we're also advocating a lot with governments in all different parts of the world around regulatory issues associated with, content and other aspects of creative AI, so that creators are protected, so that intellectual property is protected, so even styles of creators are protected. There's a lot of things that we can go and get right here as a society.
Absolutely.
But the technology right now has moved faster than the thinking about how to do these things responsibly. So there's a lot to catch up on.
I think the way that y'all gone about Firefly in particular and building the models on let's say approved content is huge, and especially important to the creator community, so that they know that their creative output is respected. And we were thrilled to join the Content Authenticity Initiative earlier this year. I personally spearheaded that. Actually, I think that's really important, and we're exploring ways, working with our clients right now on embedding those content credentials in their internal content supply chains as well. But as far as what the definition of responsible AI and how we view it through two lenses, basically. One is through just the technology risk and being responsible in mitigating that risk, and the second one is more about the empathy related to how you apply it. So on the technology risk, well, there, as you said, there's the underlying data. Are you using proof data? Does the algorithm itself is it a responsible algorithm? Does it take into account the right levels of diversity and inclusion, for example? Is there no hidden bias that's in the algorithm? Make sure that the output is reflective of what you would hope it to do, not to mention from a regulatory compliance point of view. But then there's your infrastructure risk, there's the usage risk, you have the right governance models in place internal. Those are all things that are controllable with proper governance. I think that it's controllable. On the empathy side of things, I think this is also controllable, but it's really goes back to the attitudinal shift I was talking about before. Is the marketing that you intend to do with your Gen AI of the kind of creepy cool variety of personalization at scale, or is it one that is truly customer centric?
I want to thank both of you for sharing your insights and your leadership with us. Thank you to everyone at Adobe for this great partnership and making this event series possible.